Coming up, a rally against sexual violence.
A university club gets a visit from a special guest speaker.
Rain, rain, go away. I'll have your full forecast and weather.
Iowa softball brings out the brooms.
Good morning from Iowa City. It is Wednesday, April 23rd, and I'm Elizabeth Smith.
And I'm Annika Perez.
And now it has been sunny recently. I've been out taking walks with my friends.
Yeah, I have been so excited for the weather to finally start heating up. But we actually have Ryan Lynch in the studio here to tell us about the weather.
Yes, the weather has been warming up a bit, but there is also some rain that comes with that. And it is currently 60 degrees outside, and later today, things will reach up to 74. But grab your umbrellas because, as I mentioned, these clouds aren't going away, and there's a 75% chance of rain later on in the day. Later tonight, things will be looking to cool down to back to around 60 degrees, and then tomorrow, things will look pretty similar to today, with highs reaching 75 degrees, but with the 65% chance of rain, it's looking to cool it off a bit. And I'll have the rest of your forecast later, but for now, back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Ryan. For our top story, the University of Iowa held an annual protest to combat sexual violence. DITV's news director, Johnny Valtman, has the ways organizers and participants are bringing the awareness to the cause.
We have the might. Streets are ours.
Both University of Iowa students and residents met on the lawn of the Pentacrest for the annual Take Back the Night rally. The rally, which takes place in Sexual Violence Awareness Month, is an opportunity to bring survivor stories to life.
Sexual violence has impacted my life and the life of people very important to me. I don't think it's talked about enough, and I think we need to raise awareness of it in order to bring it to an end.
While stories are shared, an overarching goal for the event is to bring awareness to all victims.
We see a disproportionate representation of the LGBTQ+ when it comes to sexual violence. That is a big issue that I think there does need to be more awareness of.
RVAP and DVIP, organizations that bring counseling services, are losing funding at the university. Despite an uneasy future, they are continuing to provide their services to students.
One of the common misconceptions over the past year and with the transition of services to our program is that the services are no longer available, and that is not true.
The heavy subject matter and occasional rain couldn't dampen the mood of dances, marches, and stories.
History teaches us that every act of violence, oppression, and injustice has been met with resistance.
From being shared with attendees who are there in full support of everyone affected.
Things happen to a mix of people, right? And so that kind of reinforces that you can be a 12-year-old victim and you can be a 92-year-old victim, and you're still a victim. And so we want to support everybody across that spectrum.
And as the marchers make their way back to the Pentacrest, they will be sharing stories of their personal experiences and continuing to bring awareness to sexual violence, not for some, but for all. From the University of Iowa, Johnny Valtman, DITV.
A fire caused major damage to a home on Kennedy Parkway on Monday evening. Fire crews were called to the scene just before 6:30 p.m. and the blaze started in the garage and spread into the attic. It took 40 minutes to get the fire under control. No one was hurt, but the damage is estimated at $400,000. Officials say the fire was likely started from heat caused by a nearby construction work. Police have found a person of interest after recent suspicious activity. An incident occurred in the 900 block of West Benton Street on Friday. Investigators released surveillance images of the person and asked for the public for help identifying them. As of yesterday, police said the person has been identified and is not considered a suspect in the investigation. One of the newest additions to the main strip of downtown Iowa City is closed due to flooding damages.
DITV's Grace Lathrop is live in the studio to tell us of these live updates.
Thanks, guys. That's right. Kitty Corner is still standing from the outside, but on the inside, things are looking a little soggy. The social club just sent out a message on Facebook yesterday stating that they were victims of major flooding due to recent rains. All cats are safe, so don't worry, and dry despite the flooding, but Kitty Corner has only been open since February and is now having to shut down for 3 days. Owners of the cafe are urging people to come back and visit after they reopen to make up for any lost business. In their statement, the Kitty Corner social team said, quote, "Small business life isn't for the faint of heart. Iowa City is made up of many locally owned businesses, and support is the key to success." Kitty Corner will reopen its doors this Friday at 10 a.m., and I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Grace. Updates are coming about the foreclosure signs on the windows of several iconic and luxury Iowa City buildings.
Residents expressed concerns that the beloved movie theater below is affected one of the buildings. DITV's Hannah Lipsky is live at the Chauncey to reassure movie lovers.
That's right, ladies. Good morning. I'm live inside a film scene at Chauncey, which has been the talk of the town the last few days. The developer of Chauncey and several other iconic Iowa City buildings owes $28 million in mortgage payments and defaulted loans to Green State Credit Union. Now, the locations affected include the Chauncey building with the hotel, bowling alley, and retail spaces, Plaza Towers and Fitness Center above Formosa, and Park at 21 High Rise, and the film scene Ped Mall are all foreclosing. Iowa City residents were worried about the future of the only independent movie theater, Film Scene. But in a statement on Facebook, the theater said they own the condominium below Chauncey and have a lease agreement for the Ped Mall location through 2030. Now, the Johnson County Sheriff will facilitate the auctioning of the iconic Chauncey building along with the 2 luxury high-rise apartments and the Ped Mall Film Scene building. Film Scene will continue operations as normal and is safe for the foreseeable future. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Hannah. Iowa Senator Mike Boswell recently announced his campaign for governor in 2026. DITV's Jake Rios has the look into the senator's agenda and his plans for the campaign.
After Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds announced she would not run again for governor in 2026, Senator Mike Boswell launched his campaign for the open spot.
I've worked in the executive branch, in the legislative branch, and I run 2 successful businesses. I'm proud of the work that we've done at the State House. I know how much it means to families and our communities to have jobs and a state government that's trying to lower the cost of living.
Boswell claims that his extensive background in public service is a key factor in his experience to lead the state of Iowa.
We need to make sure that the next governor can take our message of economic growth for all and jobs and investing in our communities and can win the governor's race in 2026.
While Boswell has declared his run for governor, other politicians are eyeing the open seat, such as 3rd District Republican Zach Nunn.
I want to make sure that I'm hearing from Iowans and that when we decide where we're going to be, we have the opportunity to execute on that with full force and one that's going to put Iowans first.
With the election taking place in 2026, no endorsements have been made yet from current Governor Kim Reynolds. From the University of Iowa, Jake Rios, DITV.
Recently, Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds signed a bill regarding environmental tragedies.
And that's why we have DITV's Linda Lecco in the room for the updates.
That's right, you guys. A bill has been signed on Tuesday discussing those disaster assistance. Let's talk about it. The bill intends to establish a structure for future disaster relief while assisting Iowans' recovery from the disaster of 2024. The increasing of funds is for the nuanced property and abandoned building and the Disaster Recovery Housing Assistance Program. This bill improves insurance rules to better shield Iowans from fraud and lower taxes for housing developers. Regarding the University of Iowa, international students are suing the federal government for the cancellation of their visas. The students claim their F1 student visas were revoked without explanation or due to process. U.S. embassies expressed 3 students similar warnings that threaten confinement, deportation, and transfers to third world countries. Although the graduate students organized claimed that at least 5 UI students were impacted, the university has not released an official statement. As we now know more about the legislative updates in the University of Iowa, I'll now send it back to the studio.
A University of Iowa club hosted a special guest speaker earlier this week. DITV's Isabel Thier has a look inside the event and as for what it means for students.
On Monday, the University of Iowa's Young Americans for Freedom hosted a special speaker for their final event of the year.
Right behind me in the Iowa Memorial Union Black Box Theater, CEO of the Babylon Bee, Seth Dillon, is about to speak to Iowa City about censorship.
They started the evening off with a student speaker addressing all of the backlash that they've received.
We wanted to see more chalk that misspelled fascist. Nothing says political rebellion like sidewalk graffiti that looks like a preschooler's spelling test.
After this, they gave a warm welcome to Seth Dillon as he took the stage to share his experience with the Babylon Bee. The Babylon Bee, founded in 2016, is a conservative Christian satire website that takes current events and finds a way to put a new and funny spin on them.
Publish funny fake news, like The Onion or CNN.com.
Dillon pushed topics of censorship and how the Babylon Bee has had to stand their ground and overcome the controversy on some of their posts.
The challenge today, though, is to tell jokes that are funnier than what Democrats are doing in real life.
This site has faced lots of censorship backlash, but has made their way through and now advocates for free speech and First Amendment rights. And then to wrap things up, Dillon hosted a Q&A session to talk to audience members.
From censorship to satire, Seth Dillon made his presence known. From the Iowa Memorial Union Black Box Theater, Isabel Thier, DITV.
And the Iowa legislature has several deadlines for bills canceled funnels. As the session progresses, the number of bills that are alive continue to narrow down. The bills that are still alive include lowering the legal age to buy a gun from 21 to 18 and allowing poll workers to challenge voter citizenship status. Some bills that have already been signed into law include banning handheld cell phone usage while driving and considering drinks containing THC a misdemeanor and when found in open cars.
All right. And coming up later, some updates on baseball and softball, a new transfer addition to the basketball team, and more.
All right, well, the weather has been looking sunny recently, but please, Ryan, tell us if the rain is going to stay away.
Yeah, there has been some sun, and it is also getting some warmer temperatures, but the rain will be staying for a bit, as Friday is looking to be another one of these rainy days with a 70% chance of showers with highs in the mid-60s. Saturday will be our little break from all the rain with partly cloudy skies and a high in the mid-60s as well. Sunday, the chances of rain will make a return with about a 45% chance of showers and highs making their way up to the upper 60s. Monday looks to be the hottest day of the week with temperatures reaching up to the 80s. But just like the rest of the week, we are still looking at a chance of rain at about 40%. And then Tuesday, it's looking to be rain-free with highs in the upper 70s and lows in the lower 60s. So with all this rain, it's going to happen, but I'll send it back to you guys at the desk.
Even though there is all that rain coming up, I heard the Iowa women's softball team has really been getting the bats rolling.
Yes, they have. They are on a roll, and they are not letting that rain stop them, even though it has been coming down, but they're still getting it done. And junior pitcher Jalen Adams collected 2 wins against Penn State, earning her 20th of the season, a feat that hasn't been done by a Hawkeye since 2009. DITV's Cole Krieger was in attendance for Game 3 of the series.
The Iowa Hawkeye softball team wrapped up its 3-game series against the Penn State Nittany Lions Monday night. After pitching a full 7 innings in Game 1, junior pitcher Jalen Adams stepped into the circle once again looking for the series sweep.
And they also have to come face me again, so I feel like I just know, like I said in the back of my head, that my defense has my back and that I'm just going to make good pitches.
Her confidence is just absolutely amazing. She hypes me up every single day, just as a coach, as a former teammate. She was always just full of confidence.
Adams shut down the Nittany Lion offense, only allowing 2 hits in Game 1 to give the Hawks a 2-1 victory. The Hawks followed it up with a 10-2 blowout in Game number 2.
Had a pretty tough start to our season, and Big Ten has grown, and we have good teams across the board now, so it's just been really important that we get the wins that we know we need to get, and then any other ones that we could get along the way are just a bonus.
In the final game of the series, Iowa looked for the series sweep. Jalen Adams dominated once again, only allowing 4 hits, while second baseman Jenna Young went yard with a 3-run home run to give the Hawks back-to-back Big Ten series sweeps.
So I think for us it's just been taking it pitch by pitch, not trying to do too much, make the basic plays, and we'll come up with a win.
Really just trying to enjoy these last few weeks and, you know, extend the season as long as we can and just really play good quality softball together.
The Hawkeyes proved once again that elite pitching from their star pitcher Jalen Adams is the recipe for success. The Hawkeyes will be back in action Wednesday night against Drake. From Bob Pearl Field, Cole Krieger, DITV Sports.
The Iowa softball team will host Drake later this evening for a break from conference play. After a series sweep against Penn State, the Hawkeyes look to continue their win streak against the Bulldogs as the regular season winds down and the postseason creeps in. Iowa is currently in the playoff picture, sitting at 6th in the Big Ten. The weekday battle will take place at 5 p.m. on Big Ten Plus. And the Iowa baseball team took an uncharacteristic loss to the Western Illinois Leathernecks last night. After sweeping the Michigan Wolverines over the weekend, the Hawkeyes' 4-game win streak was crushed by the Leathernecks as they dominated with a 7-3 victory and handed Iowa their 3rd home loss of the season. The Leathernecks downed the Hawks with 10 strikeouts and forced Iowa to leave 12 runners stranded throughout the game. Iowa still stands at number 1 in the conference, a few games up on second-ranked UCLA before the Big Ten tournament, but the talks of their national playoff appearance will be up in the air after the most recent loss. Looking to get things back on track, the Hawkeyes will stay on their own turf as they'll face St. Thomas tonight. And the 9th-seeded Hawkeye tennis team opens up Big Ten play with a matchup against the 8th-ranked Maryland Terrapins later this morning. Earlier this month, the Terrapins took down the Hawks 4-2 on Iowa's trip out east. The duel is set to start at 11 o'clock, with the winner moving on to face the top-seeded Michigan Wolverines on Thursday. And coming from Kansas, Iowa basketball landed another transfer on Tuesday. Brendan Hassan joins the Hawks as a shooting guard with 1 season of eligibility remaining following a 10.9 points per game season at Kansas State. Hassan is also known as the Amarillo Assassin, a name he received back in high school and wrote to becoming the 4th-ranked player in the state of Texas. And the Iowa men's basketball team is set to play in the 2025 Acrisure Series next season. There's currently 16 total teams confirmed for the event. The pool is highlighted by fellow Big Ten schools, Minnesota and Washington, as well as in-state opponent Northern Iowa. The event will take place on November 25th and 26th in Palm Desert, California, and the schedule is still being finalized.
Thanks, Elise. It is so great to hear about all the amazing stuff that's going on in sports.
You know, the baseball team, they've been doing a little rough, but it sounds like some of those other sports really have been seeing sunny days.
Yeah, but the itsy bitsy spider will have to wait some more to climb up that water spout because it has been nonstop rain these last couple of days. Just like all of us, the rain saw the warm weather and decided to come out and play with the scattered rain continuing throughout the week and building up to thunderstorms next Monday. The rain may go away, but the clouds are here to stay, making the temps a little more comfortable as the highs sit in the 70s throughout next week. And the last couple of days have seen a total of just under 2 inches of rainfall, but soon that number should drop to 0.
Iowa's largest private university hosted its annual contest to find the most beautiful bulldog.
That's right, Liz. Drake University has crowned Milo, a North Liberty native, the most beautiful bulldog in Iowa.
Milo competed against 30 other bulldogs from around the state for this title, and this accomplishment means he will also be the mascot for the 115th Drake Relays beginning today and concluding this Saturday. Thank you for joining us online or listening on KRUI 89.7 FM.
We are here live every day from Iowa City, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8:30 a.m. and online anytime at thedailyiowan.com.
For everyone here at DITV, thank you for watching.
See you again on Friday morning right here on DITV.
Stay tuned for DITV's political segment, The Update, following the break.
Stories occur every day, and here at DITV, we've got you covered with up-to-date news and politics.
Former President Donald Trump won the Iowa caucus.
And we are anxiously waiting for those votes for not only the national election, but here in District 1.
Keeping highlights and scores with Hawkeye Sports.
The All-American walk-on brought that punt return down this sideline and into this end zone.
Iowa looks to boost their overall placement and their way into the semis.
And of course, all the latest in entertainment.
Sit back, relax, and here's the word on the street.
I'm here at the Alan McVeigh Theater where a unique performance.
Here at DITV, we've got a crew bringing you all the stories from across the nation and right here in your backyard.
From Washington, D.C., and Nashville, Tennessee.
From downtown Iowa City.
From Carver Hawkeye Arena.
And bringing all the coverage straight to you live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. Around the University of Iowa and Iowa City community, we have the stories that matter to you here at DITV.
The Catholic Church loses its leader.
Harvard University is fighting back after federal funding cuts.
Some Iowa state senators band together. From the White House, covering the actions of the administration and how they are running our country. From the nation's capital, where Iowa lawmakers' work impacts the nation. From Iowa, where politicians determine what direction to take Iowa in. DITV's The Update is keeping you up to date with all the latest nationwide and statewide news and politics.
Welcome to The Update, your home for national news.
From the White House, our nation's capital, and all over the country, we're here keeping you up to date. I'm Isabel Thier.
And I'm Kayla Smith. And you know, Izzy, it feels so great to be back here on The Update with you guys. I'm so excited.
We're so happy to have you back.
Yeah, and you know, there's been a lot of things happening, you know, nationally, internationally, so let's go ahead and look at this breaking news that came out on Monday. So the Pope died early Easter Monday at the age of 88. The Vatican confirmed that Pope Francis, born Jorge Mario Bergoglio, passed away from a cerebral stroke that put him into a coma and led to irreversible heart failure, just hours after leading the Vatican's Easter Mass. He had been suffering from lung disease for years and in February was hospitalized for double pneumonia. Pope Francis had been serving as the head of the Roman Catholic Church since 2013, after Pope Benedict resigned. Pope Francis made history by becoming the first Latin American pontiff. His death begins a series of rituals and a confirmation process known as the conclave to pick his successor. The gunman in the 2019 El Paso, Texas Walmart shooting pled guilty on Monday. Patrick Cruces pled guilty to 22 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and has been sentenced to 22 life sentences without the possibility of parole. He had previously pled guilty to 90 counts of hate crime and weapon offenses in 2023, being sentenced to 90 consecutive life sentences. The gunman was only 21 years old when he entered the Walmart, shooting 45 people and killing 23. Cruces has confirmed that he was targeting Hispanics, making the shooting the deadliest attack against the ethnic group in American history.
Defense Secretary Hegseth was once again in the spotlight. Last month, Pete Hegseth released information on a U.S. airstrike on Yemen. He used his personal phone to send information and signal chats in reporters across the country. This, however, would not be the end of Hegseth's fame. Once again, he's been caught sending sensitive information out to people without clearance. Hegseth's second chat included some personal connections, such as his wife, lawyer, and his brother, who had been recently hired as a connection to the Pentagon for the Department of Homeland Security. When asked about this, Hegseth lashed out against the press.
This is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me.
President Trump stood by Hegseth's side through the first leak, and so far he stood with his secretary in the second scandal. And after President Trump cut down on federal funds from Harvard, the Ivy School is striking back. Last week, Trump froze over $2.2 billion in grants and over $60 million in contracts to Harvard because they would not comply with his new terms he set. As a result, Harvard is fighting back and suing the president on terms that it is unlawful and will slow down disease research. The Oval Office is standing its ground and is not going to back down without a fight.
Because I think Harvard's a disgrace. I think what they did was a disgrace. They're obviously anti-Semitic.
Politicians are now telling the university that the gravy train of money has come to an end and it's time to come back to reality. Harvard does not look to be backing down as the lawsuit is standing strong. And in efforts to form a more smaller centralized government, the State Department is looking to face some changes. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has announced plans to cut back and size down the State Department. He's planning on cutting down the staff by 15% and eliminating 132 offices. He will also eliminate approximately 700 positions in the federal agency. The State Department, however, had a different idea.
As a reminder again, because I know there's been a lot of fake news out there, this is a reorganization plan. It is not something where people are being fired.
The Department of Government Efficiency will step in and evaluate what needs to be done now.
Wow, that was definitely a lot happening there. And you know where else there's a lot happening?
I'm thinking in the Senate and House.
Yeah, so we're going to send it over to Ryan, who has a look at the House and Senate updates, and we'll look at Capitol Hill.
Yes, a Biden-era housing program is losing money fast. Emergency housing vouchers is expected to lose funding by the end of next year. and expected tens of thousands of Americans could be left unable to pay rent. Whether or not the program will continue is up to Congress to make the decision. The plan initially gave $5 billion for the program, but increasing costs for rent may force the program to run out of money sooner. Organizations advocating for the program to continue are not optimistic about its chances. And a United States representative launched a run for a Senate seat. Democratic Michigan Representative Haley Stevens launched her campaign with a focus on the economy.
Our economy is being hampered. We're $1.2 billion loss every week.
And while Stevens is displeased with the current state of the economy, she's not necessarily against the practice of tariffs. She mentioned she would support some tariffs against China to keep American industry competitive, but thinks that President Donald Trump's approach is too chaotic. The Michigan race is gaining interest nationwide with a current 53-47 Republican majority in the chamber. And taking it back local, Iowa state senators are sending letters to the Supreme Court. The letters are a formal call for the court to reject rulings of presidential immunity for criminal acts committed in office. The senators say its actions are in reference to President Trump's efforts against congressional authority and interference with legal investigations. They share a belief that no president should be above the law and that the Constitution does not protect the president from legal consequences. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you for that update.
Yep. So now we're gonna have a look with Johnny Valtman on how things are looking with foreign affairs.
Thanks, guys. And as we look around the world on ongoing conflicts, not much has changed since last week.
In the Ukraine-Russia war, a surprise came over the weekend as Russia made a shocking promise.
By humanitarian considerations, the Russian side is declaring an Easter ceasefire from 6 p.m. today to midnight from Sunday to Monday.
This promise was not held as Easter Sunday rolled around and sirens went off in Ukraine.
Confirmed that the next hours after the ceasefire was supposed to take place, the Russians were shelling the Ukrainian positions with artillery.
Attacks continued on Easter Sunday as the promised truce fell through. Before the Sunday attacks, more than 200 Ukrainian prisoners of war were returned. Negotiations between the two sides are still stalled as the Trump administration has been unable to bring both sides to an agreement. U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee visited the Western Wall in Jerusalem late last week. On behalf of the White House, Huckabee delivered a handwritten prayer by the president and his own thoughts and prayers.
Final weekend of Passover. I cannot think of a better time to come and to bring this message of goodwill. And I also come with a prayer that all of the hostages will come home now.
Along with that, Israel took responsibility for the killing of 15 first responders last month, claiming professional failures leading up to the shooting and burning of those responders. The United States is making progress with Iran with their nuclear program. After a second stint of indirect talks are expected to resume this weekend. This came days after President Trump reiterated his thoughts on Iran having the capabilities of producing nuclear weapons.
I'm for stopping Iran, very simply, from having a nuclear weapon. They can't have a nuclear weapon. I want Iran to be great and prosperous and terrific.
While the fighting has been light in this past week, we are getting mixed signals or none at all from these conflicts and any ends in sight. Back to you guys.
And the stock market is on the ups. The S&P 500 dropped 2.5%, the Dow Jones 2.7%, and the NASDAQ 2.7% yesterday. And as of market close yesterday, the S&P was at 5,287.76 points, the Dow Jones at 39,186.98, and the NASDAQ at 16,300.42. Now, Monday was singing a different tune as we watched the stock market falter as the S&P dropped 2.4%, the Dow Jones 2.5%, and the NASDAQ 2.6%. Now, the stock market might have made up their Monday losses, but concerns are still high regarding Trump's trade wars. Now, some economic strategists believe that the market will continue to make dramatic rises and falls as Trump continues to negotiate his tariffs with other countries. Now, if these deals were to fall through, there are definitely some concerns of a recession. And if we take these concerns internationally, there are fears of slow economic growth around the world. The International Monetary Fund lowered their prediction for economic growth this year from 3.3% to 2.8% in light of the uncertainty and impacts of Trump's tariffs. They also predicted that the U.S. economic growth will reach just 1.8%, down nearly 1% from their previous forecast. Now, thank you so much for tuning in to the update this morning, where you'll find all your news and politics.
Tune in next week for more updates from across the nation and the world.
From The Update, I'm Kayla Smith.
And I'm Isabel Thier. Have a wonderful day.